Day 4 was my favorite. Maybe it was day 5. You were either with Jeremy doing some extra training, or you were with me and Marco, where we actually did live role plays. So if you were here on day 5, you would have seen us pull random people up from the audience and just throw the kitchen sink at us with some really difficult objections. And you got to see us overcome them.
Mic off.
Which one was it? Day 5, day 1, day 4? Marco and Anthony, thanks for the compliment. So what's today about? Today is about day 6, VIP only session. We appreciate everybody here that's in VIP and those that got started with our NPQ 2.0. So we wanted to throw a bonus day. All right. We've been going hard. We gave you guys a day off yesterday, so hopefully you're ready for today. So give me a hashtag committed if you're going to be with us for the next 2 hours, and we're going to be showing you exactly what you need to do step by step. This is the objection handling masterclass. So if you thought day 2 was good, that was just the crumbs. That was just the appetizers. Today, we're going to be giving you the main course. So I want to welcome somebody who's recently been appointed actually as the CEO of 7th Level, Marco Cortesi, to the stage. Now, Marco is known as the objection handling king. When it comes to objection handling, you think Marco Cortesi. So he's joining me today. And for the next 2 hours, if you're committed, give us a fire emoji in the chat because we're going to be giving you everything. Marco, are you alive? 5 days of training. Are you still with us?
I am. And I'm really excited to this one because I like to think that this one is my forte, right? I've got a different, I got a different approach to objection handling. So let's see, man. I'm really excited, really excited. So,
well, the rumor going around, Marco, maybe you can verify for everybody here, but there was a small rumor going around that you used to close at 90%.
Yeah, disclaimer on that. The results are different for everybody in terms of activity and everything. But yeah, 3 months straight, I did.
3 months straight at 90%. Now,
yeah,
what I understand is a big part of that is objection handling. I want to say a quick story as well, Marco. For those that don't know, me and Marco met probably nearly 5 years ago now. We were selling on the same offer at the same account. Now, one thing I know about Marco from back then, I jumped on with him because I was on that account for maybe a year before you jumped on, Marco. And then I remember us getting on a call and I'm like, all right, who's this Italian guy? You know, there's already one Italian on this offer. I don't know if there's room for 2. What are we going to do with this guy? And then Marco's like, hey, let's do a quick role play. So I threw an objection at him. And that's when I realized that this guy was on another planet when it comes to objection handling. He was saying things I'd never heard before. He would just kept going. And then that's when I really knew that Marco was equipped and armed with certain skills that I didn't even have at the time. So I'm really excited for everybody here, Marco, because, you know, this is probably the first time we've done a joint session just on objection handling for people that we've already trained for 5 days. So they've got the fundamentals.
Yes, right? Exactly right. And I think I got an issue with the Wi-Fi, which is we're fixing up in a second. But the main thing is I want you guys to learn today, right, is understand the psychology around objection handling, which I think a lot of people out there don't explain you. Like, you don't really know what's happening there. And after, we'll explain the step by step, right? But what I want everyone to do is pull up a notepad, right? And I do have an accent, so Anthony's going to translate as you go, right? As we go. And on the notepad, I want you to start taking notes, and I will share my screen in a second as well, and you will see what we're going to go through it, okay? So that's the most important things. I want you to take notes on this one. Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, the biggest thing we want right now, we asked you to do this on day 2. I want you to let us know in the chat box below, what's the most common objection you're getting right now that you don't know how to overcome, which is costing you sales? Because what we want more than anything at the end of today's session, especially for you 6-day stayers and those that got started with NPQ 2.0, who here, by the way, as you put in your objections, who here got started with NPQ 2.0 with the offer that we've been running for the past couple of days? Let us know down below. 2.0, me, I got started. Well done to you guys, because throughout the training portal, that you're going to have access to in the coaching sessions for the next 3 months, we're going to go even deeper. There's only so much we can do today in 2 hours. So those that are in NPQ 2.0, you'll see another level of depth as you go through the training material. So the most common objections, I need to think about it. Now's not the right time. I want to sleep on a, I want to run it by my partner. We don't have the budget for this. I'm not interested. I already have a financial advisor. We don't believe in warranties. Home improvement. I can just do it myself. That's an interesting one. We'll show you how to overcome that. Can't afford it. Need to talk to the husband, spouse, partner. They reject my calls in the first place. That could be trouble for you. Not interested,
Yeah.
not interested. So it seems like, Marco, we've got a variety of objections here. So why don't we
Yeah.
start with the overall framework that we're going to be teaching, and then let's get granular. Okay?
Yeah. So let's start first understanding what's an objection, right? What do you guys think, girls, in the chat, right? What's an objection? Like what that means? Because first you need to understand what is the things you're encountering, like what is it you're doing, right? So let me see what you guys say. So an objection is an initial knee-jerk reaction at the beginning, ghosting when trying to get second call, sales blogger, problem to solve, a request for info pipeline. Okay. An objection is a concern. So they have a concern on something. So if you, for example, we sell sales training, right? If you guys say, I don't have the money, that's your concern. It's not an objection. You're not objecting to anything. Now, the reality of it is understanding that that's what your ego is saying. All right. It's not what the other, it's not a personal rejection, but it's the idea that when someone approach to make a decision, is going to give you something that is outside their control for not make that decision, right? So write that down. The first thing is that people don't object to you personally, but they try to find an excuse for not do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Let me give an
Now,
example of that as well, like a real world example, Marco, if that's okay. So
yeah,
what have we been offering at the end of for the past couple of days? We've been offering our NEPQ 2.0 training platform, which is closed now, right? But we were offering that to help everybody that came to the challenge. We wanted to give back to you and wanted to get you started with a significant reduction. Now, some of you got started and some of you didn't. So I want to paint a real picture here so everyone understands what we're saying. So the most recent example is this. Now, for those that didn't get started, why don't you put in the chat box below? This is for educational purposes. What was the objection you gave yourself as to what prevented you from getting started? Was it think about it? Was it time, money? Maybe it was value. Maybe it was, you didn't know if it would work for you. What was it? Put it in the chat box below.
money, negative funds are broke. So the idea being is this one, that, for example, even for you guys, but for your prospect in front of you, when you say, I don't have the money, the reality of it is, but what's the real problem? So when someone goes into the objection handling process, we need to make them realize the real problem. And the problem is that it's not that you don't have the money or you don't have the time. The issue is that you don't have the skills, right? In insurance, for example, when you sell insurance and someone tells you, I don't have the money, right? Well, insurance, you need it. It's like water. It's not saying that you don't have the money. What you're saying is, hey, I don't care enough about it. Okay. So the first thing is understanding what is that I'm really overcoming. What's the main things that I'm overcoming out there? So first lesson of today is understand what's a real objection and what's a smokescreen. So if you have a notepad, I want you to write real objection on the left and smokescreen. Now, for you guys in the chat, what do you guys feel is a real objection? Someone write down what's a real objection. Money, yeah, money is one a real
Alejandro
objection.
says money. Eric says money.
Time,
Time
value,
says Xavier.
yeah. Don't want to live
I'm not
much
going to live
longer.
much longer.
Fear, time,
Trust.
trust. All right, let me share my screen and let me unveil what we got prepared here. All right, can you guys see my screen? I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger. So a real objection is a real problem that they tell you truthfully. right? So it's a concern that they have. So when someone tells you, I don't have the money, they're not objecting to you. What they're telling you is, I don't see the return. Now, there might be a case when they don't have the money, but that's not the problem. Because most of the times when you present your solution, the skills that you acquire or the things that you're getting out of the solution equals more of the objection that they have. Now, the smoke screen is when someone is trying to give to something else or a third party the ability to make a decision because they don't feel that you are trustworthy enough to tell you the truth. So what's the difference between real objection and smoke screen? Is, do they trust you or not? If someone trusts you, it will be open to tell you a problem, which is like, hey man, I don't have the money. Same person that doesn't trust you and he doesn't want to make a decision, he will tell you, I need to ask my partner.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony, can you expand on that?
Yeah, I want to keep bringing it back to a real scenario so everyone understands this. So 2 minutes ago, I asked everybody what held you back from getting started with Nepq 2.0, which is closed. So don't ask me for it now, but it's closed. Now, what was everyone writing in the chat? That was saying, I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. There may have been a couple of values in there. Maybe they didn't attend all 5 days of the past training. What I didn't see was I need to think about it, right? What I didn't see is I need to pray on it. I didn't see I don't make a rash decision. Now, there may have been a couple of sprinkled in there, but the large volume was time and money. Why is that the case? Maybe you trust us because for the past 5 days, we've trained you. So do you see how you're giving us an objection, but we're not getting to think about it or the partner I need to sleep on it? Because that's not a real objection. Because if you're to give us a think about it objection after 5 days of showing you exactly how this can help you maybe acquire the right skills to double, triple, or quadruple your sales potentially, if you were to put in the work, then there is no fake objection there. Does that make sense, everybody?
Yeah. And there is someone in the chat, Michael Arnold. So in my business, I service money and needing to see additional quotes is a very real and not a smokescreen. But let me ask you, if they would have trust you to be the best out of all of them, right? And fixing their problems, that they wouldn't need to see other quotes. Now, seeing other quotes, what that means is either I want to see who does it better, or I want to see how can I get it cheaper. So it is a money objection. Now, the idea being that even a partner objection most of the times is a money objection. Why? I give you an example. Someone tells you, hey man, I need to ask to my partner. That's not a problem. How you mean? Oh, well, I need to see if I have it in the budget. The language that they use allows you to understand what is that am I really overcoming. Now, why am I teaching you this? Because the essence of a smoke screen is to be able to find the real objection in those smoke screens. Because if you start overcoming smoke screens, they don't want to be on the phone with them, because with you, sorry, because they know that they know internally that actually they don't need to think about it and they don't need to pray on it. They're just telling you that, and if you start overcoming that, then you're overcoming a lie. So you go into this loophole of 45 minutes trying to do something that doesn't make sense. Now, this is psychology. There's not like yes or no, right? The idea being that a truthful concern is divided by fear and logistic. So what fear is, people, when they give you a money objection, is how can I come up with the money? Or either is, am I going to get a return back? So they're fearful in themselves on getting a results. And logistic is, I have the money coming in at the 28th of the month, for example, and right now I don't have nothing in the account. Same things for time. Someone is fearful to put that time in, or sometimes logistically, you don't see it. Now, the worst one is a value objection. Why? Because if someone doesn't see the value in what you're selling, it's really difficult to overcome. Now, how do we how do we pre-handle a value objection, Anthony? Because we are good on pre-handling objections, especially you. How do you pre-handle a value objection?
Yeah, really, really important. So what we went over just the crumbs over the past few days, right? So that's all an upstream issue. What Marco said there is really important. Everyone write that down. If you get a value objection at the end of the call, very, very difficult to then turn that into a sale because you've already lost the sale. You have to they have to see the value before you even present the price because they need to understand. You have to sell them on change. If you haven't sold them on change, then they're never going to see the value for what you're offering. So the way we pre-handle the value objection is by doing the upstream correctly, which we go through in detail in our virtual training platform. Is how do we do the right connecting situation? How do we get the real problem? Once we get the real problem, how do we paint the right solution? And then how do we get the consequence? Because the value objection is pre-handled when you get them to see in their mind that it is far more riskier for them to stay where they're at and keep doing the exact same thing they're doing now than to give you the money that it's going to, cause them to invest into getting the problem that they have solved. So if they can see that it is riskier to stay where they're at rather than giving you whatever you're asking for, then you won't get a value objection. If they feel like what you're presenting is not valuable because you haven't connected the dots, you didn't get the real problem, and you didn't personalize your presentation to their problem, they're never going to feel like what you're offering is going to help them. So that's a you issue and an upstream issue. It's not even something to do with the way you're presenting. It could be, but it's something you're doing upstream. Does that make sense, everybody?
Yeah. So when you present your offer, right, at the end, you need to have something that says, do you feel this could be the answer for you? If they say yes, then you say, why though? Right? So what that does, it preempts a value objection. Now, if they are in the middle, it's like, oh, I think so. Don't tell them the price. What you do is like, wait, you seems to be in the middle. Is anything that is concerning you? That's how you pre-handle a value objection. Anthony?
Yeah, exactly right. And one thing that I used to do really well. So I would say I would say somewhere, give or minus, I would on all the sales I used to make, Marco, and you know this, I would say around it was either 85 to 90% of the sales that I had made, I just wouldn't get objections because I used to just wipe them. So in my mind, the way I used to picture the sales call is there's a lot of doors open. And as I'm going through connection situation, as I'm going through solution awareness and consequence to transition, I knew which doors were open because of NEPQ. And once you go through it, once you go through the virtual training and you actually understand it, it's like, oh, that's a door open. So in my mind, as I'm looking at it, it's like I have to shut every door along the way. So NEPQ is really powerful once you learn the right questions, not even just because of the questions you're asking, it's the responses that the questions you're asking need to evoke. When you know what response you need from the question, then when you don't get that response from your prospect, the door's open. So it allowed me to just keep looping back and re-asking the question and not moving forward. The biggest mistake a lot of people here are making is that maybe even be asking questions that they saw online and they just keep moving forward when the prospect doesn't give them the response that they need. So it's not working. It's a pointless question you're asking because you don't know what you're looking for. When I ask a rationale question, right? Just so someone said something about timeshare. Just so I understand the rationale, what's the main reason you're possibly looking at getting a timeshare in a vacation rather than just keep going on your vacations every year and just deciding where you want to go?
Exactly right.
Why am I asking that? I'm pre-handling the objection that I know that's most commonly going to come up at the end. Like, why invest in a timeshare? Why not just have have a random allocation of budget that you put into your holidays every year with your family? Because I'm shutting the door and I'm going to get them to defend themselves.
Perfect. So Now, in your notepad, what I want you to write is this one. The step one objection handling is to pre-handle a value objection. So write that question down. When you present, at the end of your presentation, I want you to have a question that says, do you feel this could be the answer for you? If they say yes, ask why. If they are in the middle, tell them, it seems to be in the middle. Is anything that is concerning you? Pause it. If they say no, don't tell them the price just yet. Go back up top and present the things that they're not sure about. That's really important because by doing that, you prehandle, well, I don't see the value into this. When someone doesn't see the value into it, it's really, really difficult to give them something. Now, what's the step after? Is to prepare yourself on saying the price or saying whatever you're pitching to these people in a manner that doesn't trigger personal rejection. Now, the way we do that, or the way we teach that is the investment needed. And if that's an example for you for, I don't know, sell, like Anthony, throw me a niche. Timeshares.
Timeshare.
The investment needed for you to be able to get the holiday that you want with your family is $30,000. Now, we do have payment plans available. Clients don't really do that. How would you like to proceed? Mattresses, right? The investment needed for you to purchase, to buy the mattress that your family needs to get the sleep that you want is $7,000. We do have financing available. Clients don't really do that, but depends from your situation. How would you like to go from here? Now, Anthony, why would you do that statement? Like, why would you break that statement down in that way?
Yeah. So a lot of salespeople, they selling a cost and they're selling a price. They're inducing their own objections. The cost for you to get the mattress is this. Is it a cost or is it investment? If I'm sleeping on a mattress for 1/3 of my life, do I want a mattress that's going to give me a good night's sleep? Or am I just going to see it as a cost? So the way we frame it is you take your prospects away from cost-based thinking to investment-based thinking. For all of you here that didn't get started with Nepq 2.0, dare I say, some of you are looking at it as a cost. It's 2493, or that's a cost. I don't have the money for that. Where the ones that got started, they're looking at it as an investment. Is the reason I don't have the money is because I don't have the skills. And if I were to get the skills and it allowed me to close an extra 5, maybe 10 deals a week or 10 deals a month, what difference would that make? So all of a sudden we go from, it's not the cost. I need to look at it as an investment. So we're trying to transition the prospect away from price-based thinking to investment-based thinking. That's going to help you when getting them to realize the risk tolerance. What's more risky? Keep selling the same way you're selling now. Keep using the mattress you're using now. Keep spending all the money you're spending on the holidays now. Keep waking up not knowing what's going to happen to your family because you don't have life insurance. Keep, being held hostage to the energy companies that will just raise your rates whenever they want and you have to comply with them. Is that more risky? Or you investing into a better mattress for a better sleep, better sales training to make more sales potentially, a timeshare so you can go on holiday whenever you want for a lot cheaper.
Exactly right.
So let us know down below, guys, if this is making sense, what we're trying to say. Write that down. Take them away from cost to investment. Marco?
It doesn't make sense. We stop and we make sure that everybody that feels like, oh, this doesn't apply to me, we explain it because I want to make sure that everybody here understands everything. Right, fantastic. Seems like he does. Perfect. Now, I'm not sure. David, what is it you're not sure about? What is it you don't understand?
Has David responded? Otherwise, I got a comment here from Yash Maroli.
Okay. Go ahead.
I mean, the only other Yash I know is like 18, 19 years old and making well over, disclaimer, but well over 500, $600,000 a year in sales. So Yash Maroli, if your name lives up to expectations, I hope you're crushing it, man. So Yash says, it's day 6 and I'm still not seeing much about B2B. Yash, we love you. We're going through scenarios here. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
what you're selling. I don't care if it's B2B, B2C, B2G. I don't care if you're cold calling, outbound calling, inbound leads, booked appointments, or door to door. If you understand the framework, it applies to any niche, right? It doesn't matter. The investment needed for you to get the merchant services to be able to lower your fees you're currently paying now from like 6% down to 2% would be X amount per month. Any questions on that? The investment needed for us to come in and actually assess the operations of your business to determine where you're losing out on efficiency, which is causing you to, not achieve the revenue you want to be earning, would be X amount. Any questions on that? Or give me another B2B example, Marco. Let's just spit B2B out for Yash. Yeah.
I don't
What
know, like
else?
software, like any type of software, B2B software, right?
The investment needed for us to come in and redesign your CRM so that your sales team can be more efficient and close more deals without the lag period would be X amount. Any questions on that? Doesn't matter, guys, what you're selling. This is what I need you to understand this. I'm gonna turn it up today. Is everyone okay with me? Just I'm known as the slapper a bit, I'm not gonna physically touch anybody, but
Ugh.
I'm known to slap people around a bit. And I wanted to wait till day 6 because day 1 to 5 was just a warm up. All right. So we're not gonna tell you today what you, I guess, want to hear. Day 6 is
Yeah.
about what you need to hear, especially if you've made it to day 6. So I don't care what you're selling, Yash, it applies. Just understand the framework. I
Yeah, I
digress,
understand.
Marco.
So I want to get Wise up, right? Because he had a question. Wise, you're allowed to talk. Go ahead, brother. I think you had a question in the chat, and I want to make sure that you get the most out of it and the value. So go ahead.
Hey, can you
Yeah,
guys hear me?
yeah, of course. How you doing, brother?
Great, great. Marco, Anthony, thank you guys so much for giving me an opportunity to speak. I loved
Absolutely,
day
man.
5. It was incredible. And day 6 is going smooth. So I believe I said I don't understand because I'm in the personal training business, right? And
Oh, yeah.
the problem with my issue when it comes down to selling and making commission-based sales is that I need to provide value in the first place when it comes down to training. And the problem with like that is the cost is very heavy. In my industry, there's a set price, and I have to adhere to that price. And most rejections I get is it's too expensive. They don't see it as an investment. They mostly see it as a cost. And I'm trying my best to take them away from the cost-based thinking and thinking about like, oh, you got to look at your long-term lifespan. You got to look at your daily activities of living. I try to make it in a way where it's like I can guarantee success, but that's not what I heard from you guys. Like on day 5, you guys said, "Hey, don't guarantee the results, but remind them that they're actually making a commitment to become better." So I just
Yeah,
wanted
but
to
let me explain you why. Let me explain you why. Okay. So the idea being of showing them the value or something that they never done in their life is doesn't work. Because if you sell personal training, which I did, right? That people sometimes don't go to the gym. Why? Because they procrastinate. Would you agree with that?
absolutely.
Perfect. So they won't see the value because they never done it. But also they won't see the value because that's not the real problem. The real problem is not the value there. The real problem is asking them why you're fearful to go into the gym. What's the main things that is stopping you? Now, you can't say that directly, right? But they won't see the value because primarily they miss the first step. And the first step is, why do you need a personal trainer? So the problem is fixing their needs. Make sense?
Yeah, it definitely makes sense, because we have to find the issue that they're dealing with and basically try to help them in that specific issue. I even had an objection today where I had a client who I trained and I gave her a complimentary session. And then when I talked to her about training, she loves working with me. But the problem is this, she said, Weiss, I'm trying to get a job where I'm actually trying to pay for this. And it's been really stressful as a student. So I'm having a lot of trouble. And then I ended up deciding to give her another complimentary session just off the strength. So I wanted to know if you guys thought that was a good idea or a bad one.
That's the problem because, for example, um, when someone comes to you with a money objection, if you give them what they want, you're rewarding a behavior, which is a bad one. So the question for her is like, listen, I'm here for help. I'm happy to help you with everything that you need. But rather than thinking of what we cannot do, would you be open to think on how can we do it? Because right now you're just telling me a reason on why you can't. So you see, you move them from the idea of I cannot do something to how can I do it? Wise.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think this makes a lot of sense because instead of just going for what I think she should get, I open up the floor to think like, how can we actually work together that actually makes you feel comfortable? And then we continue with the commitment and the investment, not just the cost of the entire program in general. So
Role play with me, right? And I would show you, and I will show everybody here the first couple of steps of objection handling. Okay, just role play with me. Go ahead. Give me
okay.
the objective.
Okay, so hey Marco, I really loved working with you. I feel like I was challenged to the highest level, and also at the same time you pinpointed my issue where I don't have a lot of upper body strength. The problem is I looked at your fees. $150 per session is really, really expensive, and I'm
Okay.
just a student. So I was wondering if there's a way where we can lower the price.
That's
Maybe.
not a problem. I guess let me ask you, how you mean by expensive? Like expensive in compared to what?
Like for instance, I really appreciate our session, and I feel like YouTube has been helping me out a lot when it comes down to looking at certain exercises, and I've been giving like free. I signed up for this subscribing this channel where they gave me a free workout plan, and I feel like maybe if I commit to this, I might even see results, and I think this is really what I want. I want the results for the less amount of cost. And
I
I feel.
understand, and I understand you want the results because I'm committed to help you. Now, the question that I got for you, though, money aside, would you do it?
Um, I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, I like working by myself, and I feel like I'm less pressured when I'm not working with the trainer as opposed to I am. So I'm not really sure. I can't
Can I
really.
share? Can I share a different perspective, if you don't
Absolutely.
mind? Because I'm here for help you, and I care about you, and I care about you getting where you want to go. But for do that, what we need to do is understand that what got you up here didn't really give you what you want. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not where I want to be right now.
Okay, so if you're not where you want to be, that my help will be in to challenge you to be the person that you really want to be. So let me ask you, is why do you want to be in shape at the level that you want to be? What's the main reason?
To be honest with you, I just want to be aesthetically pleasing. I want to compete with my social circle where, I can hang out with the fellas and not feel insecure. And
Okay.
yeah.
You see, it is great that you share with me that you don't want to feel insecure, because what I want to show you is this, is right now you're making a decision with that type of mindset, with someone that is insecure. And if you're making that decision with that type of mindset that is insecure, of course it's expensive because you're insecure about yourself, putting the work to get to the results that you want to do. Now, the idea being, though, that if you want to be secure, we need to ask to ourselves what a secure person, what someone that is confident in themselves would do.
I personally feel like someone who's confident in themselves would stick it through and try their best to look online and find out on their own, as opposed to asking for help.
Do you reckon that someone would do something like that?
I'm sorry.
Do you reckon that someone would do something like that?
Do I believe someone would be able to do something like that?
What I'm asking is why do you reckon that that particular way of thinking will get you there? What have you seen it?
Oh, why do I reckon that's a good idea? I just feel like I like independence. I like the fact that you can go so far by yourself and just I like the journey. I like the story of being able to tell people like, yeah, I did this all by myself and this is what I did, and I can be somewhat of an inspiration to others just by sharing my story and not asking for help. And yeah, that's how I feel
So
right now.
so the question that I got for you is if you like their journey and if you like their story and if you want to be that way, why you haven't done it? Why you haven't done it until now?
That's a good question. I guess it really
Pause,
yep.
pause. So I explain, right? So you see why how I go through it, right? What I'm challenging you is not really into the package. I'm challenging you on the way you're thinking about being who you want to be. You see the difference.
Absolutely. I think you did a great job of finding out my burning why. You did a really, really great job of finding out why I wanted to do this in the first place. And also at the same time, I think you're saying before, like you want to keep asking the same question. You don't want to just move forward when you already didn't have a
Right?
commitment in the first place. So now I completely understand what you were saying before.
You understand, right? So I'm not selling you the personal training. What I'm telling you, what I'm suggesting you is that you need to apply a different way of thinking because otherwise you're never going to be in shape. Doesn't matter how many who you're training with and how much does it cost. The problem is that you're trying to get away with it. And that's not how you're going to get to the best version of yourself. You see, by doing that, what I don't sound is pushy because I'm doing it for you rather than doing it for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. And I think the hardest part is like just being able to kind of finish the sale from here and actually get a commitment. So
We'll
yeah.
get there. We'll get there. Because what I'm about to teach now is exactly what I was trying to do, right? Now, every time, like, what's the biggest mistake in objection handling? Is to think that price is the things that is in the middle, or either price is the obstacle. But rather, what's in the obstacles is the fear of getting rejected. So, Vice, I'm going to speak with you, right? And we're going to go along with this. When someone gives you an objection, how do you feel?
You feel like you didn't provide enough value for someone to make them say like, "Hey, this is worth it to me."
Exactly right. So on your side, you are taking it personal. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. You think to yourself like you didn't do enough to show them like, "Hey, this is valuable. You should invest into this."
But now the question that I got for you is the mindset that you're going in is going to make you feel rejected because you are taking it personal, correct?
Absolutely. Rejected, failure, lose confidence, these certain things. Yeah.
And that's the first things that everybody here needs to change. They're not objecting to you. They're asking for help because the person that is telling you is too expensive. In reality, what he's telling you is, how can I do it without the concern? So that changes something called your meaning. So every time someone overcomes an objection is in a state of fear. Why? Because they are in a state of fear because you just dropped the price. And you are in a state of fear because you don't know what is about to happen. So the idea being is that you need to be able to change your state going in, overcoming an objection. Now, what a state is defined by meaning, language, and physiology. So your meaning cannot be to make the sale. But your meaning into the objection handling is to help them to overcome an obstacle. Now, if you think about how can I help them, you're not going to get personally rejected, but you're going to be in a state of be able to be resourceful for them. That's how you're not pushy. Is understanding that this is not just a one-side conversation. We're on the same side of the table. Now, your language is all about help. Because if you're trying to help them, you got to show them. So just for see if I can help you. How you mean by it? I'm concerned. I'm here to help you. We're on the same team. That's all language. It allows them to understand which side are you playing. Because if they understand that you're playing their side and they're asking for help, they're going to start listening to you. But if you feel rejected, it's going to create a boxing match. Vice, does that make sense so far?
Yeah, absolutely. And let me ask you this though. When is it an appropriate time to like either lower the price or step away from the sale when you feel like, hey, it's this is not going nowhere and maybe we should give them like that opportunity to think about it?
Good question. So when do you feel the things are going nowhere? Vice?
Oh, sorry, Marco. Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, when do you feel that is worth or either you're going nowhere with the sell?
You know, this is actually a great question. I feel like if I were to like really put into reality, it's when I actually drop the sale and give them a price that they were asking for, and then they're like, "Oh, you know, I'm sorry, I just don't think this is the right time right now." And
Exactly right. That's why you shouldn't be dropping the price, which is the answer to your first question. Because in this process of objection handling, you're either gonna get sold on why they cannot do it, or either you're gonna sell them on why they can do it. The real question is you give up when you get sold on why they can't do it. Does that make sense?
yeah, it definitely makes sense. But I'll tell you the truth, Marco. There were
Yeah,
points
go
where
ahead.
yeah, there were points where I dropped the sale from like 15.15 to 12.01 and I had someone literally buy it right then and there. Not because I told them you know, it was the program, but I told them like, hey, you know what, I'll work with you. This is a one-time thing, and then my price goes back to there, and then we'll take it from there. So
Yeah, but
I
you see
have
what you
like
said. But you see what you said there. It's like I work with you. So in the moment that you created the help, that's when you can drop the price. But they have to understand it. But also remember that for you to negotiate, because there is two sides of objection handling. One is commitment and the other one is negotiation. So when they're committed to change, then the second side is negotiation. So that's when you can drop the price. But you're not going to play poker with someone that doesn't know how much he's willing to bet. So if they're not committed to change, then you can't drop the price. So the question that I would do before dropping the price is, listen, I can help you with the pricing. I can break it down. The question that I got for you is, are you willing to change? Are you willing to be uncomfortable? And if you say yes, then I will drop it. Does that make sense?
yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense because you're bringing it back to like I'm trying to help you as opposed to like I'm trying to sell you
Yeah, but
first.
you said it yourself as well. Before when you say is like, let's figure out this together, which is the whole point of objection handling is figuring out things with the prospect. Anthony, anything to add on your side?
Yeah, one thing I want to say as well there is what one thing you had said at the start, which I actually wrote down, is you said I sell personal training and the cost is very steep. What are you telling yourself in the moment you say that? Even if it's on a session like this, what are you telling yourself?
That's a great question. That's basically me telling myself my value. I don't appreciate my own value. And
Yeah, exactly
Yes.
right.
I'm thinking I'm not selling people what they're asking for. I'm not I don't believe in my own value. That's what I'm saying right there.
Bingo. Which that was the question
Exactly.
that you type in the chat, and that's why you got up here, right? Is you
Yeah.
say completely the opposite, but now you realize that is the opposite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank
The
you.
biggest thing, the biggest thing, how do you say your name, brother, as well? Is it Weiss?
Oh yeah, you got it. Weiss, yeah.
Weiss. Yeah. So Weiss, the biggest thing is, and I learned this very early on, is the objection you get is the objection you actually give. So if in your mind you don't value your own services, you will never be able to overcome someone's objection. Like you can't, I can sit in the saddle. My longest sales call has gone for over 4 hours, where 3 hours of that was objection handling. The reason I can sit in that saddle was because I've got certainty, confidence, and conviction that what I'm offering is actually going to help the person. So it takes my mindset away from I'm trying to take something from you, where I actually want to help you, because I know if I let you get off this call, you're going back to the exact same problems that you had, which is why you reached out to me for help. So I'm a failure to you. Like I'm letting you down. So you're selling personal training. Someone wants more security. Someone wants to lose weight. Someone wants to feel more confident about themselves. So you need to help them do that. So it's not a cost. It's an investment because they have a problem. So and back to the question I asked everybody before, what was the objection you gave that stopped you getting into 2.0 as a real world example, a recent real world example? Dare I say, the objection that a lot of people gave that stopped them getting into 2.0 is the objection that they get. How can you possibly tell somebody that they should spend the money to get the thing if the objection you always give yourself is the money? How can you overcome a partner objection, a husband objection, a wife objection, a spouse objection, if you're always the one giving those objections yourself? Because you don't know what it feels like.
Exactly
You
right.
don't know what it feels like on the other end. So, Wise, just be very cautious of the language you tell yourself. Just change the statement and believe in yourself. You offer an amazing product and an amazing service. You actually help people. Believe in it, and that alone will get you more sales.
Yes. Now, there's someone say, when I make a cold call as a real estate agent, I get major objection within a matter of seconds. For cold calling on the start, the objection is always trading time. They don't understand why they should trade that time with you. So if they say, I'm not interested, tell them, I do understand. That's why I'm calling you, because you don't know much about us. And then you roll into the next question. So you diffuse. If they tell you, I don't have time, tell them, okay, it's going to be quick. How much have you got? They tell you 3 minutes, and then you say, I'm going to make it in 1. And you roll. They all for cold calling is different, especially on the start, because you want to just diffuse and move on, right? Because what they're trying to tell you is, I don't want to trade time with